And I spent a lot of time outdoors, hiking, fishing, road trips, driving trails. And I kept noticing something, me, other people, we don't want the weather. We want confidence, right? That we're going to enjoy our outing. So this observation became evolved into the My OWL Outdoor Intelligence platform. So, like I said, it started with an observation. People, including me, heading out unprepared. I'd look at the forecast for the nearest city, and I'd get out to the site, and it was different, right? So I'd look at the forecast, I'd look at it several times. I usually just went anyway, prepared for whatever might happen. Sometimes it's too hot, sometimes it's too cold. And I'd see people out there not prepared. I was coming off Pancake Rocks one time. I went out really early, and people were starting around 11 o'clock. Black clouds, some of the blackest clouds I'd ever seen moving in. And I'm thinking, I don't want to be on this mountain in a rainstorm, right? I saw another one on Spruce Mountain. At the time, this was right after Thanksgiving. At the top, there was like 1.5 feet, 2 inches of snow under the trees. Some, let's just say individual, was out there in sandals, shorts, and one of those big Michelin Man jackets. I had a t-shirt, a twill shirt that was about to come off, and it's all I could do to get past him before I started laughing. And those kind of things, they change the experience, and you got to be prepared for them. So that was kind of the beginning of this concept. So as an engineer, I started measuring. I started measuring like 15-degree temperature differences. And that was from Hartselle to Antero. And the wind was dead calm in Hartselle, and it was blowing at least 20 miles an hour, if not 30, at Antero. I mean, that's a significant difference. And if you think about it, and I did some checking from like Moab to Arches National Park, and Phoenix to Vulture City, because I want to go to Vulture City for the ghost town, but that's a whole other story. Anyway, if you plan for 90 degrees and it's really 105 where you're going, you're not going to be prepared. And the same thing, if you think it's 50 and it's really 35, you're not going to be prepared. And that can be, it's really going to ruin your day. It might be dangerous. The other thing I noticed is weather is only important in the context of what you're doing. So I realized I started out building a kind of an intelligent weather app, and it's evolved into this platform I'm talking to you about tonight. And as I was talking about the context, what may be bad for one activity might be great for another. If I'm hiking, lightning's bad. If I'm trying to take photography of storms and lightning, I want lightning. So weather is not absolute. It depends on whether you're hiking, fishing, doing photography, road trips, driving trails, and your personal preferences. So all of that gets taken into account as to what you're trying to accomplish and where you're going. So that turned into the My OWL Outdoor Intelligence platform. I wish I had a better acronym, but anyway, it takes the hyperlocal weather, where you're going within about a mile. Okay, it takes obviously where you're going, the activity you're doing, your personal preferences. I might be willing to hike when it's 95 degrees. My wife may not want to go out if it's over 85. Personal preferences matter. The goals and the intent. What are you trying to accomplish? I'm not just out there to hike. I'm out there to enjoy nature and probably some photography. So it comes all into this the outdoor platform. I've got back-end services that collect and analyze weather data. I've got mobile apps and some libraries for those mobile apps to give you better information. And for example, giving you confidence, the better decisions, really get you prepared for what you're trying to do. And it's built for outdoor people. If you live in a city and never leave the city, you probably don't care about this. If you're someone like me who likes to go hike and fish, drive trails, it's something you'd probably be interested in. And as I said, this started out as an intelligent weather app. It has expanded. The My OWL Plan, that's the weather app. You give it your preferences, and it scores where you're going and the weather based on your preferences, gives you that display. I've got maps to find where you're going. Then it expanded, oh, that's a typo, that should say My OWL Fishing in the middle. This is the next iteration, or next evolution. This one takes where you're going, your fishing spot, what kind of water it is, what kind of fish you're going after, that kind of information, and then it takes when your trip plan, when you're going to go. You know, I'm going Saturday at 7 a.m. It pulls down a window and it gives you advice. It doesn't just say it's good or bad, it scores the different hours. And it tells you for, you know, fishing trout from the shore, casting, or if I'm fly fishing, you know, at deckers, it takes all that into account and it recommends lures and bait. So you can set, you know, in Colorado, you can't use all the lures and bait at every waterway. So you can set what's allowed and what's not, and it tells you which ones to use. It also tells you things like fish near the inlet, fish the wind-blown shore, retrieve slow, you know, give it a jerk and retrieve slowly with this bait. So it does all of that. The next one that's going to come out in Q3 is My OWL Road Trip. So this is for road trip planning. And I have another one that's not on the slide that came up after I did these. That's going to be My OWL Trails. So this one idea for an improved weather app is expanded into this family of products that give advice and recommendations, not just say, here's the weather, good luck, you figure it out. In the outdoor market, I mean, we all know this, it's huge, right? 175 million Americans participate in all sorts of activities. It's a 1.2 trillion economic impact on the US, you know, 5 million jobs. The other thing, if you travel around, especially Colorado, there are thousands of small businesses. You go out to Telluride, you're walking down the street, there's a fly shop. You know, there's a fly shop in Ridgeway. Well, at least there was last time I went there. I don't know if it's still there. But, you know, how do you know about those before you go out there? So there's a lot of opportunity, just not only for people who are using this, but for businesses who support these activities. So the go-to-market strategy, right now the apps are free. I'm taking a freemium approach. They're always going to be free. And then I'm going to do subscriptions for more advanced features like push notifications. So I'm not checking it every day. I get a notification, not that the weather changed, but the impact of your plan changed, good or bad. So I want to work with local businesses, try to get them subscriptions. So if I'm going to go fish, you know, in Jackson, Wyoming, I don't want to go search for shops. It'd be nice to be in the app and say, show me local fly shops, and give them a presence in the app. And the other part about that, as someone who used to call anglers covey every time I went fishing, get their advice. You know, my advice is going to be a starting point, but someone who's been there and knows it, their advice is going to be that much better. That's the monetization strategy. You know, promotion, working with outdoor businesses. I'm going to start, speaking of TikTok, I'm on the verge of starting a TikTok channel called My OWL Field Report. So I've got stuff to do Hanging Lake, which we hiked a while back and we'll never hike again. We did set a record though. Longest time on the trail. And that's gonna be on TikTok, probably some YouTube shorts. It's gonna augment my YouTube channel. It's already out there, Tech Drover. Why Tech Drover? Because the good domains like Tech Wrangler were already taken. So I went with Tech Drover. And then network with outdoor activity groups. Network with people wherever I can. The near-term focus, I've got some product enhancements plans specifically for my OWL plan. Add the notification, you know, but the big thing is going to be customer acquisition. I've got these things out there free right now. I want to start building a customer base, because if I go talk to a fly shop, I want to be able to say, you know, there's 30,000 people out there using this app, as opposed to, you know, I just released this. Help me build an audience. I want to expand the social media preference. I'm not a big social media guy. That thought of doing TikTok, okay, it's frightening. You know, same thing with YouTube last fall, but I got over that one and did a lot of videos. So, and then expand the My OWL platform. You know, not just those additional apps, but I've got a roadmap of additional features for the next 6-7 months. to make them better, not just add new apps. But it also expands itself. You know, there could be any outdoor activity could have its own app if there's a reason, if there's value I can add to that outdoor activity. So when it comes down to it, I observed a real problem. I measured it. You know, I know there's an issue. I've already built and launched apps that prove the platform. I use my OWL plan every day. It's my weather app now. And I built the products that prove the platform. You know, pulling in my backend deals with 1.6 billion data points for weather, half of which are updated every hour. So all of that's proven and ready to go. So I'm ready to scale. You know, it's time to start bringing in customers and then get to that next step of monetization. So, you know, if you leave with anything about this, you know, remember, weather only matters in the context of what you're doing. It might be good for you, it might be bad for someone else. You know, the outdoor intelligence platform, it turns the weather into better decisions based on your preferences, your activity, you know, giving you advice and recommendations. And those better decisions are going to turn into better outcomes.